Adapting Zoho CRM for the way you work. The three big topics we're going to be hitting today is going to be CRM module and field customization, transforming visuals with Canvas, and lastly, using Deluge to customize your CRM. So those three things are going to be make it work for you, make it pretty, and make it smart. Those are going to be our three big topics. So first and foremost, no two companies are alike. Everyone has their own combination of variables that make them unique. There's a lot of overlap between companies, sure, and different processes, but we want to just go ahead and be mindful that the CRM is going to be a very strong tool that has a wide scope. So we need to go ahead and narrow that scope for your needs. So every company has their own business model or has a different combination of business models, organizational structure, definitions of success, sales pipelines. So we want to make sure that we can go ahead and use the CRM to track and work effectively for you and your business practices. So for my example today, we're going to be using Zilker Networking. That company is going to be a direct hardware sales and service-based company. And it's going to be a standard functional organization structure with a CEO, marketing team, sales team, procurement team, and a service team. The big need or underlying problem statement we have for today's presentation is going to be to build a CRM that can nurture leads, manage sales, and is scalable for a growing team. So for module and field customization, we have a lot of things that we can do for this first topic. So go ahead and make sure we adjust the CRM's vocabulary to your business's vocabulary. So the CRM has 4 main modules that come right out of the box: leads, contacts, accounts, and deals. But not everyone's using that vocabulary. So one of the things that we can go ahead and do when it comes to customizing those modules and fields is make sure that we go ahead and just keep that in mind, that the CRM knows that not everyone's going to use this verbiage, and that we can adjust the verbiage of our CRM to fit our needs. We can also do that with our fields. So our fields that are in the system can also be adjusted to fit our needs. So we can go ahead and just swipe on over to my test account here. That is going to look really small on y'all's side. Well, let's go ahead and enhance. And then let's see if I can scroll on over here. And this is going to be our new UI. For the modules I have here, I restricted them down to my kind of core ones. So we have our leads, customers, accounts, and deals. I've already renamed contacts to customers. And a real easy way to go ahead and rename accounts, for example, to companies to fit my verbiage for my company, Zilker Networking, is we can just come over here to setup, head on over to our customization section, modules and fields, and we can navigate over to our accounts. And all we need to do is just hit rename. So now anywhere we have, for example, in this account, anywhere we have the word account name, we're going to go ahead and adjust that to company name. Anywhere in a customer, for example, where we have account name, it'll also show company name. So let's go ahead and do that rename here. And as simple as that, if I were to go ahead and give a little refresh to each of these pages, and then do a little CSI Miami enhancing. There we go. We can see that now account name has changed to company name, and same thing over here on the customer as well. So this rebranding of the CRM module names to your verbiage that you use in your business is going to be a key point to just help make sure that your process flows a lot easier instead of having to adapt to our use in the system. And that's just one thing you can do. That's kind of the easiest thing we can go ahead and do. Next up, I wanted to go ahead and just touch on, for example, if we want to work on that lead nurturing process. In our lead nurturing process, we use a key field here called lead status. And if we were to navigate over to lead status, let's go ahead and clear that. We have a couple options in here, like attempted to contact, contact in future, contacted, junk lead, etc. we can actually expand on these options right out of the box and add options to this pick list. So that's another simple thing that we can go ahead and do is we can just come on over in the new UI, go to leads, go to fields, and we can actually come on over to our lead status, and we can add options to our pick list. So things like this, where we're going to go ahead and be adding options to kind of fit more of our business needs, is going to be a great first step. So first contact successful, and we can add another one like scheduled follow-up. And what we can do here with these new pick list options is when we go ahead and start working with automations like workflow rules, or we start working with blueprints, we can make sure that if we line out our business flow on paper, including a, hey, we made point of contact with the customer successfully. We want to go ahead and send an email out in 2 days after our last call. And then once we go to thumbs up that we're scheduled and want to move to the next stage, you can set your automations, you can set things in the system to work smarter for you if we enhance it with data at the beginning. So the more foundation, the more groundwork we lay, the more actionable data we have, the smarter we can make the system. So that's a little quick example there of that. Let's zoom out of here. And that's just using the system as is out of the box. But the next thing that we have an option for is creating custom fields and modules. So there's a lot of words on the screen right now, but essentially just in bold here in black is we can go ahead and create custom fields and we can create custom modules. So if we're already at the point to where we've already removed as many fields as we need to, or we've already adjusted the fields we already had to fit our needs and we still need more, we can create new fields with all of the data types you see on screen. And we can also create new modules to hold different buckets of information. So the big thing is, like I said just a little bit ago, actionable data. The more information we have in the CRM at the record level, the more that we can make the system work for you. So if you have a process on paper, like I said earlier in regards to the follow-ups, we want to go ahead and try to track all of that as much as possible at the field level. Now, each of these fields go into a module, and those modules are the names, like I said before, leads, contacts, accounts, deals, etc. The more information we store, the more we can make it work in triggering these automations and then running reports. If you want your reports, if you want your dashboard analytics, if you want your pie charts, if you want your KPIs and comparators, the more information we have, the better. So for one that might be a simple one would be, well, I keep updating a record. This record that I'm updating for that lead status, I want to know its history. I want to know its path that it took to get here. But I don't have a timestamp that tells me that this record, while it was being contacted and then successfully contacted, how much time elapsed. Well, inside of our lead status, we can actually go, or any pick list, you can do this one pick list per module. You can actually go to edit properties again, and we're actually going to have here enable history tracking. Let me go ahead and enhance. Enable history tracking for pick list values. What this will do is it'll actually help you take a snapshot of the record of your lead, your deal, your account as you move through these values. So if the end goal is a pipeline of some sort that you're tracking in a different module, you can go ahead and track those values as it goes, and you can see the duration and times in between each of these selections as you move through the process. So that's another way to go ahead and make sure you have more data in the system. But let's say you're not using a pick list. Let's say for my example of Zilker networking, come on, zoom out, there we go. We actually want to go ahead and create a custom module. So if our company is engaging with leads, qualifying them, reaching out to their companies, using those now qualified leads as contacts/customers, and I start working on a sale, when I go ahead and complete that sale for my hardware and services business, I want to go ahead and make sure I can track the hardware that I'm covering. the assets that I am responsible for this contract, for this sale. So we can actually go to our create a new custom module, and we can make an organization module here. And we can actually just go ahead and call this module. Let me go ahead and just make this a little bigger. And we can call this assets. And asset, a plural and a singular. And then I can start connecting this module and storing data here in its own silo. This is its own filing cabinet. If we have a bunch of filing cabinets on the wall, each one is labeled as a module name. We're going to go ahead and create a new filing cabinet, but we need to know, hey, when I pull this piece of paper out, this asset, where else is this reference? And I'll have a sticky note on that piece of paper that says go to this filing cabinet and go to this record. So that's going to be a lookup field. So for those of y'all who are not fully aware of lookup fields, these are going to be our connectors in the CRM. This allows you to go ahead and actually point to another record in the system. So reaching out from one filing cabinet to another and creating a link there. So if this was supposed to be my asset tracking, and I'm going to associate this to a closed sale or a deal, I was going to call this deal. I'm going to go ahead and make this look up here a deal. And then in my related list, this is the name that shows up in the deal side. So this is going to be asset. And another key component I want to do here is, well, what's the hardware that I'm connecting here? I'm going to go ahead and be creating a quote of some sort off of a product. So I want to go ahead and pull that product here too, so I can report on it, know how many of these products are out in the field live currently based on my recent deals, not just based on a quote or another field. I want to actually have live tracking of this hardware. So this is going to be asset as well. And if we were to go ahead and Martha Stewart this and just say, oh, look the other way and come right back, I can actually go ahead and get on out of here. And I have a module that I made called asset tracking that I actually added a couple more modules to, a couple more lookup fields to. So if we blow this up, we can actually create a custom module that's going to be tracking the asset number, the asset itself, which is going to be the product, the associated sale, the company. All of these things are going to link back and report to that initial sale for me to track based on this custom module record, which is going to be a very strong point where we can have this information available. So if you have a technician, in my example, that needs to go ahead and service this hardware, they don't have to necessarily live inside your customer page or your contact page for this additional information. Instead of flooding your contact page with 300 custom fields and sections of all the things that you have rolling through in terms of data, you can create its own record in another module and link it back. But now the big thing is, why not create custom fields and modules from the beginning? If the customization is so strong that I can go ahead and build all these connections myself, why not start there? And the answer is just because the CRM out of the box has a lot of native features that are going to be built into those 4 core modules. The leads will have the option to be converted into contacts and accounts with the deal associated via a simple button. Also, at the account level, you can actually see a bird's eye view of all of your associated contacts and their deals. So if you have in your CRM, a account with 10 contacts that each have 3 deals and each have 10 activities, instead of navigating from each one, you can kind of have a bird's eye view from the account level to see all of that information. So we don't want to be recreating functionality that's already available in the CRM. So that's why we go ahead and rebrand the modules and adjust them to fit our needs first. We then expand with custom fields and custom modules, and then we'll go ahead and make it pretty afterwards. So, and just an example of that account view here, that's where we're able to go and kind of see all of this related list items from the bird's eye view first. So for all of our deals and all of our activities and any active quotes, even if they're associated to different deals and different people. Another strong thing that we have here are going to be layouts. So layouts, like I said, we can go ahead and build custom fields. We can build custom modules. But if we don't have data that doesn't need to live in a custom module, we can actually go ahead and store it at the record itself, like a contact or lead, but just make different layouts for the different use cases you have for those records. And we would go ahead and do that. We would use multiple new layouts for different users or different use cases so that you can be asking for 300 fields worth of information, but this 50 is going to be for this person and this layout, another 50 for another layout, etc. And then once you do have your layouts set up nicely and you're collecting all the information you need to, you can make your layout smarter with layout rules. And layout rules is a real fun conditional if then. So a layout rule, and I can bring this up to kind of show what's going on a little bit better. Let's go to leads. Perfect. So for my leads on my lead source, I added 2 custom sources that are RFP request and cold call. So I have specific sections with data that is going to be relevant to RFP requests, relevant to cold calls, relevant to dispositions on calls. And based on my selection of lead source, I can show or hide those sections. That way we can be collecting the information, but only show our staff or our users or ourselves the sections we need to fill when we meet this condition. So if you have someone who's an online um, source, well, that online source should have an email, it should have maybe a identifier that's tracking where they came from, and maybe you need to follow up with that so we can mark those fields and show them as required when we're filling them in. And we can go ahead and kind of make the system be a little bit more reactive. So now going on to visually transforming the CRM with Canvas. The first part of the presentation thus far has been making the CRM work for you to collect more data and collect more information for automations, for reports, etc. Now we want to go ahead and be able to interact with that information and data more effectively. So kind of a first order of retrievability per se. And also, not many people like working in a spreadsheet plus environment where the CRM is kind of natively out of the box. This, you can kind of brand it towards your company or just make it a lot more easier to use. So what is Canvas? It's Zoho's no-code design solution. Has ability to present module data a lot more effectively, where you don't have to scroll to the ends of the earth to get to the related list you want, and allows you to go ahead and make some personalized views depending on people's profiles and access in the system. So that means that y'all might be aware already that we can use Canvas to transform our record detail page. So whenever I'm inside of a piece of data like this is a record detail page. So we can transform this with Canvas. We can go ahead and transform the way we see our lists with Canvas to kind of make them a lot more eye-popping, get the data we want right off the bat. We can turn it into a table, but like a smarter table and a nicer table. We can go ahead and just throw a lot of extra information at the screen. And then my favorite one is this last one here. This is going to be, and let's see, that's going to be my lead. I can swap over to that. And instead of the standard form for creating a lead that looks like this, we can actually use Canvas to kind of transform it, to make it a lot more user-friendly. So if you have someone doing intake, you can kind of build it to where these sections are already built into this Canvas view. So make it easier to input data. So this is one of the newer features from last year. It's going to be for our create and edit pages. And this is also available like in portals as well. So this is a very fun one. The idea what we're doing here is we're making it easier for people to interact with the data in the system by using Canvas. So the big thing I want to go ahead and talk about in terms of why Canvas instead of the default is not just because it looks prettier, but because there's an order of retrievability that comes with Canvas with the control you have in that customization. You can make things more easily accessible to your users as they're navigating your system with Canvas. So if the deal section here, for example, it's nice, it's there, you can see it in the colors, but it doesn't have as much information as I want. And I would have to scroll down to get to that data. If I use Canvas, I can bring that data to the top. it can be there immediately accessible. So if you have a salesperson working in the system, they can have access to that right away. You can bring them notes to the top of the page instead of having them at the bottom of the page. If someone needs to enter data like that via your note section, you can make it easily accessible to your process and your needs. And with that, that's where I want to go and talk about using the Canvas pages for different users. So if you have the time and energy to put a little bit of elbow grease in, you can build a couple extra versions of Canvas for the same record detail view to go ahead and service your different users. So this example here is just one off of our documentation where we have a real estate CRM where the real estate agent has immediate need for property information and client preferences. That's at the top of the page. It's immediately accessible, but the same page contains a social integration for our marketing team to have at the top of their page for easy accessibility. So if I were to go ahead and do this example for Zilker networking, I would have a standard sales with preferences and rolling deals at the top of the page for my sales team. But for my technicians, I might have those assets. I might have open activities or I have tickets at the top of their page for immediate access and ease of use. So that's the strong points that I like to see from Canvas. And then a really fun one, just to end Canvas up and just to give a nice little wrap up, is that there is conditional styling in Canvas as well. If you like logic and if-then statements, this is a fun little one that just says, I want to go ahead and make a rule. And this rule is going to be for our deals, our sales. And if the closing date's age is greater than 0, so it's late essentially, but the deal is not considered closed won or closed lost, it's still an open deal, then I want to go ahead and change the way that we display the information that's on the screen. And you can do that with Canvas and conditional rules, Canvas rules to like change text size, text color. This example I'll be doing is just changing that blue background there to be red. So right now the default is blue. I'm going to add that rule and now it's going to say it's going to go red. So whenever this closing date is already over and past or late by a day and the deal itself is considered still open, I'm going to have an eye-catching element in this canvas that's going to say, hey, there needs to be attention. Something needs to happen here. You can set an automation to send an email. The boss will get the email. You'll get chewed out. But if instead you want to go ahead and be like, oh, no. This can be available at the list level when you're looking through all of your records. This can be available for your team members. Just give them more responsibility and more options, just so the system can nudge them in ways that are not an email, because the less emails in our inbox, the better. So lastly, the making it smarter part. So making your CRM smarter with Deluge. First and foremost, I'm going to go ahead and go over some possibilities, some functionality, some things to keep in mind. But whenever you do cross the threshold of like, I've now made all the fields I need, I can report the way I want to report, I can access the data I want to access, and you get to this Make It Smarter page, give us a ring. I want to make sure y'all know that we are accessible, we are here to help, and we actually have access to our own internal Zoho CRM Deluge specialists who are able to help us take requirements and turn them into code and work with y'all in terms of implementation and getting y'all helped out with that. What is Deluge? Deluge is Zoho's online scripting language. And we have two ways we can use it inside the Zoho CRM. And it's going to be custom functions and client scripts. Both of them are scripts of code. Custom functions is a script of code that you're going to execute after you trigger it, while a client script is going to be a script of code that is executing live while on a page or making an edit of some sort before you go too much further. So the difference between the two is going to be just based on your use case and where you want to use them. But a custom function can be used in a standalone function so that it can be referenced elsewhere. Inside of a workflow rule, which is our when trigger, based on criteria, execute an action. That simple logic flow there. Schedules, so you can run something every Monday morning, every Friday night, Every once a month, you can run a chunk of code to clean up your system or make changes or pull data, push data. The options are limited, but almost limitless. And then a number of other things like custom buttons, but all of these require us to say when we're triggering the function so that it can actually execute and follow through. So here's an example of a custom function question. I want to go ahead and pull data from the company record and push it to all associated contacts, not just one, but all of them. We can go ahead and do this with a custom function. And what we can go ahead and do is all I'm going to do is this little GIF here that's going to save the code. We have a field already that is being updated via being updated. A workflow rule is going to say when this field is updated, I want to go ahead and capture that information and push it to everyone in my contacts related list. So I'm creating a deal here. What I'm doing is I'm doing a roll-up summary, which is going to take a sum of all of my closed won deals associated to my account, and I want to push that over to my contact. And I want that at my contact side just so I can have ease of retrievability. I want to see, oh, this is this contact or customer is associated to an account that I have done $10,000, $100,000, $200,000 with. I want that information immediately available, but it's stored in the account page. So it is doing a little update. This is too small for y'all to see, so let me swipe over. Let's go on over to our account, and I can show you what I'm talking about. So I have a sum of all deals here, and let me see if I can enhance this way, that way. There we go. I have a sum of all deals already, not enhanced enough. Enhance further. There we go. I have a sum of all won deals, and that total is 13,300. This total is going to update when I take this deal that's in negotiation and review. When I go ahead and take this deal and update it to closed won, that 405 value should be added to that 13,300. And when I go to my section here, that 13,300 has now been updated to 13,700. The account side, everything's great. Everything's hunky-dory. That's working right out of the box. This is just a field that you can build with a custom field, no code required. But if I want to go look at my contact list and my customers, I want to go to Daniel here, for example, the code that I have running via that workflow rule is going to update a field that I created. So we can check our timeline. And it says total amount won, a total amount for closed won deals has been updated from 13,300 to 13,750. So if I go look for that field now, at the contact level or the customer level, this piece of information is already there. I don't have to manually type this in. There's a piece of automation that's doing this for us. So if you come to the team with the question, I want to pull data from company records and push it to all associated customers, and you have this statement and you say it's going to be from the contacts, from the accounts to the contacts, from this field to that field, you give us a ring, we'll help you out with this. Next up, that's a cause and effect, a custom function. A client script is going to be usable inside of a number of places as well. Again, a lot of words on the screen. All we're really focusing on is the same things I've said earlier: list, record, create, and we have event-based triggers. So on page load, on a change in a page. The problem statement for this one is going to be, I want to automatically pull data. So back to the questions earlier, like, do I need to fill this in every time for these lookup fields? I automatically want to pull data from a deal when creating a quote and associating them together. So let's go ahead and build a quote here. And if I were to go ahead and build a quote, the fields that I have on my quote page are going to be subject, deal name, customer name, company name, and some address information as well. I don't want to fill this in every time. I already have a deal with all this information. The deal already collected and was nurtured to the point where we finally got to the closed sale. We already got to the point where we need to create a quote for proposal. I want to fill this in automatically. So as long as this information is available at the deal level, if I were to go ahead and grab one of these deals here and click off, it's automatically going to start filling all this information in. So I gave it the parameters of when you pull a deal name, I want the subject of this quote to be quote for deal name. You can change this, you can make it whatever you want it to be. We then go ahead and filled in automatically that customer name and that company name lookup fields based on that one selection. Going one step further, I added a valid until because my business's process is 60 days out. I added a valid until 60 days from now. So whatever the execution date of that client script is, 60 days out is going to be my valid until date. And lastly, we filled out some address information as well. So that's the beauty of a client script. Before you go any further, before you have to actually trigger an actual change in the system, it can be working the logic you're asking of it live on the page. So that is making your system smarter.